Kansas. A SpaceX rocket launches 4 astronauts on a journey to the International Space Station. And a royal bicycle, once owned by the late Princess Diana, heads to auction.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Kansas Governor Laura Kelly vetoes a controversial transgender sports bill. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, the latest state to decide on a measure banning transgender girls from competing in women's sports. 34 states are considering similar bills in the 2021 state legislative season. Arkansas, Idaho, Mississippi, South Dakota, and Tennessee have already enacted similar bans into law. In Missouri, House lawmakers Wednesday voted 100 to 51 to add the proposal to another bill. The new amended bill still needs 2 more votes of approval by the full House before it can move to the Senate for consideration. In Oklahoma, they're even closer. Tuesday, House lawmakers passed Senate Bill 2 with a 73 to 19 vote. It now goes back to the Senate and then on to Governor Stitt's desk. 2 weeks ago, both the Kansas House and Senate approved their version of the measure. And yesterday, Governor Kelly gave her answer. Caroline Elliott sat down with the governor to learn more about why she vetoed the bill.
Governor Laura Kelly officially blocks a ban on transgender girls competing in women's sports.
One, it's absolutely unnecessary, but even more than that, it's hurtful and discriminatory. We have a total of 5 trans girls who participate in sports in the state of Kansas. But we have others who are out there who are hearing this and watching adults discuss them in ways that just is really painful.
This comes after a warning from the NCAA. It will only select cities for events that it considers safe and free from discrimination. Wichita is selected to host women's NCAA tournament games in 2022 and men's tournament games in 2025.
Well, they could just lose it. I mean, there's plenty of time between now and 2025 to move that someplace else. We're also vying for the Federation of World Cup Soccer, whatever it is, in 2026. We pass this bill, our chances of landing that are slim to none.
In total, there are 5 female transgender athletes in Kansas, but the bill is personal for the entire trans community, including the state's first transgender lawmaker.
If this were about trans athletes, we could probably have a conversation, but we know that with the number of trans kids who participate in athletics, that's a very small number. And what we're actually looking at is the discrimination against all trans people.
The Kansas GOP says it's unfair for transgender girls to compete in women's sports. And some lawmakers say they are prepared to fight.
I just don't want that my granddaughters and your daughters or granddaughters, I don't want these young women to have their opportunities taken from them. And this is why I'm trying to promote this, and this is why I stand behind this bill.
Lawmakers return to wrap up this year's session in May. The original bill passed short of the 2/3 majority necessary to override a veto in both the House and Senate. It's still unclear if enough people would change their votes to override. Well, if you like getting wet, you're going to love the start to your weekend. Michael Hayslip joins us with the first look at the forecast.
And it's also going to be a little bit warmer, so we can go warm and wet all at the same time here. As we see temperatures right now, it's a Friday, 61 in Pittsburgh, 57 in Neosho, and 61 as well in Neodesha. So the nice thing is this nice warming trend that we've had. You have to remember we were record-breaking cold over the middle of the week and came within 1 degree of breaking a 3rd record. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Now, this rain that we see out to the northwest of us, this originated over Wichita. This is not the system that we're really concerned about. What we are keeping our eyes on is down to the south. This right here indicates the instability with the warmer temperatures and the Gulf moisture. So it's slowly growing throughout the morning. As a matter of fact, when Tanya and I were doing the morning show, this thing was stuck down in South Texas. So as the day goes on, it is slowly growing our way, and it kind of mimics just exactly where we see the warmth right there. So we're going to concentrate on the Red River through portions of Oklahoma and Arkansas as we make our way through the afternoon hours. And the afternoon hours are going to bring us thunderstorm activity. Let's take a look at future track and see exactly when we're starting here. Really about 5-6 o'clock is when we see it begin to pick up. Very heavy rain, thunder and lightning with it, and it carries us all the way into Saturday. Tanya, coming up here in just a little bit, we'll break down the old instability map. It officially feels like spring now that we're warming up and thunderstorms are on the horizon.
All right, well, 4 astronauts are headed to the International Space Station for a 6-month mission. They launched early this morning in a spectacular pre-dawn liftoff, using for the first time a recycled SpaceX rocket and capsule. Mark Strassman has the latest from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
The astronauts were met with cheers on their way to the launch pad this morning. They even got a send-off from SpaceX CEO Elon Musk.
Endeavour launches once again.
The international crew, which includes 2 Americans, launched on a mission that's the first of its kind.
We have just passed through max Q.
Around 2.5 minutes after liftoff, already traveling more than 4,000 miles per hour. The reused first stage booster separated. Roughly 7 minutes after that, the crew entered orbit more than 125 miles above Earth, where not long ago they had this to say.
We're a couple hours into the flight, making our second lap around the Earth.
Musk said it's the dawn of a new era in space exploration.
It's hard to believe that we're here doing this, quite frankly. Feels like a dream. It's probably good to have a flight or two under its belt for the booster to have flown, once or twice.
NASA astronaut Bob Behnken can vouch for the recycled hardware. He flew in the same capsule to the space station last year. This time, it's his wife, crew member Megan MacArthur. They have a 7-year-old son, Theo.
What does your son think about all the unusual travel both his parents do for work?
He has had, of course, a long duration exposure to all of this. Of course, he recently saw his father launch and then stay on the International Space Station for 2 months. Now, it's mom's turn and I'm going to be gone for 6 months. And when he talks about it, he talks about, well, he's going to go next.
But first, little Theo and his father will get up early tomorrow morning to watch another magical moment. MacArthur and her crew will dock to the space station right around 5 a.m. Mark Strassman, CBS News at the Kennedy Space Center.
Looks a little windy there, Mark. As for the reusable gear, NASA's acting administrator says it absolutely lowers cost. That could be huge for future launches from U.S. soil. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at Noon.
A prized possession of the late Princess Diana is up for auction. I'm Ian Lee with how you could own a piece of royal history.
And later, we're making bacon and fried chicken wafflewiches in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. A British auction house has wheeled in a prized piece of history from the late Princess Diana. Michael can stop making fun of me now. Her famous blue bike goes under the hammer next week. CBS's Ian Lee reports from London.
This 1970s Raleigh Traveler isn't just any old bike.
This was Princess Diana's bike that she rode to work every day.
Diana Spencer was just 18 at the time, hounded by the press as she began dating Prince Charles. The media dubbed her bicycle the shame bike, as palace aides reportedly called it unsuitable for a royal to be.
Shocking, isn't it? At the time, they considered that royalty should be riding around in carriages drawn by white horses.
So Diana stopped riding it and sold it for just a few dollars before her royal wedding in 1981.
This was the sort of last link to her freedom before she was put in the gilded cage.
40 years later, British auctioneer Mark Ellen is selling it again, and it's expected to fetch a king's ransom, about $30,000.
With the popularity of the crown, does that add value to it?
Absolutely. It's so hot now. Anything to do with the royal family.
Do you think people will buy this bike to ride it?
That would be sacrilege.
The 26-inch bike has 3 gears and decades of royal history. Bidding in the online auction begins April 28th. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
My mom had a bike almost exactly like that. Well, this isn't the first time the bike has gone under the hammer. 5 years ago, it went for $15,000. Still to come on the KOAM News at Noon, Mr. Food.
You know, most of us deal with enough stress on a daily basis that we shouldn't need to worry about what to make for dinner. To help make things easier for you, we're sharing a recipe inspired by a few time savers from our freezer aisle.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
Hard to believe in the span of 72 hours, we're talking about breaking 2 record lows, coming within 1 degree of breaking another one. And now, thunderstorm activity as we head into the weekend. Oh, April in the 4 states. Here we roll. Live look outside of Television City, where we sit at 59 degrees. It's actually been very comfortable, thanks in part to the wind shifting. And coming in from the southeast right now, 61 in Pittsburgh, 62 looks to be our clubhouse leader in Welch. Let's roll a pair of 58s there in Lamar and Carthage. So really temperature-wise, a far cry from what we've had earlier in the week. 7-degree bump up from where we stood at a quarter after 12 on a Thursday. But we're going to concentrate on the Skywatch Storm Tracker and the big trough of the jet stream that's now digging all the way into Mexico. See this contour right here where the warmer temperatures are? Well, we're going to go back to good old-fashioned break it down from a fundamental aspect standpoint for April. The CAPE. Convective available potential energy. Let's take the fancy name off of it. What it is how much fuel there is in the atmosphere to spawn thunderstorms. Earlier today, this thing was hanging way down around South Texas. Now, we're seeing it increase as it pushes to the north. And so that's an idea about how the afternoon will go as we will continue to see that fuel, if you will, that instability increase toward the 4 states. Now we're going to go with Gulf moisture. The brighter the color, the more moisture there is in the air. We were in the purple earlier. That means very, very dry. Now we see the Gulf moisture coming up and combining with that instability. That leads us to thunderstorm activity. Now, so far, so good for us. But we are starting to see it bubble up in portions of Texas right here. And we're going to concentrate this afternoon and evening on what comes out of Oklahoma and Arkansas right along the state line. This one up here by Wichita, that's what fed us the rainstorms yesterday. And when I say storms, it was mostly just a nuisance of rain. Didn't have any lightning or thunder associated with it. That's going to be a little bit of a different perspective. At the same point in time, no watches or warnings, even with what we have in Texas right now to be concerned about. But we're going to keep our eyes on this as the day goes on. And this rain right here is actually going to skirt off to our northeast. That's not going to pose any problems. What we are going to be concerned about is, number one, the amount of rain that we're going to get, anywhere between 1.5 to 2.5 inches. And also, two, high winds, especially as you work to the southern portion of the 4 states for this evening. So let's get started here about 5 o'clock as we see it encroach from Oklahoma, especially on the western edge of southeast Kansas. We see little pockets right there, but now we're going to be able to hold this thing together, and that's going to give us widespread heavy rainfall late tonight into Saturday, especially down here to the southwest, and that line's going to bring us thunder and lightning. As it progresses through, it almost wants to stall out. Instead of heading to the northeast, then we become more widespread as it pushes east towards south central Missouri. Look at this down here in northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas. That's going to be a downpour right there. Then we're right back at it Saturday morning. Northeast Oklahoma, southern southwest Missouri, northwest Arkansas going to get it once again. Should clear out probably about 9, 10 o'clock. By 2, then we've cleared off the skies and we're looking absolutely great. But the severe thunderstorm mask has expansive as far as the elevated area. This has really grown since this morning. So what we're talking about for the 4 states is we're going to put ourselves in that minimal level. That's going to be the high winds. That's also going to be the heavy rain. But look, we also clip that low level. That's got the possibility of hail in it as well. Now, best thing to do is just kind of wait until mid-Saturday morning when we clear off, because we'll get sunshine on Saturday and be able to make it up into the mid-60s. Sunday is the best day to do anything outside. We're talking about sunny skies and highs in the mid-70s.
Whew, that's going to be nice. I'm looking forward to that.
Let's just, like I said, all eyes down south if you got Friday night plans tonight.
Yeah, all right. We'll be prepared for that. All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Roger Hoplin II in the U.S. Marines. Hoplin served a tour in Iraq in 2003. He earned a number of honors, among them the Presidential Unit Citation, 4 Overseas Service Medals, the Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary and Service Medals, and 2 Good Conduct Medals. To Roger Hoplin II, we thank you, our 4-state hero. If you're a fan of chicken and waffles, then we've got a stress-free way for you to put dinner on the table tonight. Howard shows us how to make his bacon and fried chicken Wafflewich in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Most of us deal with enough stress on a daily basis that we shouldn't need to worry about what to make for dinner. To help make things easier for you, we're sharing a recipe inspired by a few time savers from the freezer aisle. By simply serving these heat and eat favorites together, you'll end up with a feel-good dinner in just minutes. Watch this. The next time you're at the store, pick up a package of frozen breaded chicken tenders and a box of waffles. Any brand will do, and if they're on sale, all the better. While these heat in the oven or in your air fryer, pop a few waffles into your toaster. We want to toast them until they're golden. All that's left to do is top each waffle with some smoky cooked bacon and a few of the chicken tenders before putting another waffle on top. Now you tell me, when was making dinner ever this easy? At the table, put out some honey and maple syrup and let everyone drizzle on their favorites. Everyone who tries this is going to love this tasty combo of flavors. To get the recipe for our bacon and fried chicken Wafflewich, check out our website. I know you'll be glad you did.
I love chicken and waffles.
I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we discovered a waffly good way for you to say, ooh, it's so good. Open up wide.
So good.
Looks like a good way to get sticky fingers. You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4 state market prices.
Your chance to
Thunderstorms rolling through later tonight, and it's going to carry us all the way into Saturday, looking at 1.5 to 2.5 inches of accumulation. Be careful of those streams and creeks around you that you know will flood, and outdoor plans. Best thing is going to be Saturday evening into all day Sunday.
What do we have coming up tonight at 5?
Well, at 5, the EPA says plastic trash has the greatest potential to harm the environment, wildlife, and people. We're going to show you how a family of trash wheel machines uses solar and hydro energy to collect trash, which is then incinerated to create electricity. Plus, pain from your back, hip, knee, or foot is among the most common chronic conditions people in the U.S. live with. We're going to meet a Boston man who's trying a different approach for relief. And we hear about a local healthcare provider's experience fighting the coronavirus in the Navajo Nation. Hope you'll join us, KOAM News at 5.
All right, thank you, Dow. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at Noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.